Hello everyone, and welcome back to another casted game of Age of Mythology Retold. My name is ChillButton38, and I am back from a bit of a brief hiatus, and ready to get back into the swing of things. I've been taking a bit of a break from the latter, but when I saw that a new patch had dropped, I had to get back in and give it a try. I'm pretty happy with the patch thus far, but I can say for certain that my own personal skill at the game seems to have declined in my absence. So we're going to get back into the swing of things, taking a look at one of my replays. I'm spawning into down the south side of the map, playing Shennong in the red. My opponent today, the Renegade of Funk, spawning in on the north side of the map, playing Fuxi in the blue. And interesting, I guess, shortcut here from the Renegade of Funk, using this food drop site as the initial gather spot for wood. I'm not sure how much of an advantage that will be, because you will eventually need to drop a drop site for your gold. But I suppose down the line, where I'm going to have to build a second drop site a lot quicker to get less walk distance from my wood line, when he goes to gather from his main wood line, he'll just drop one right up next to these trees and be good to go. Otherwise, very similar, pretty standard Chinese build order from both of us. Rallying all of your villagers directly onto your hunt, and just using your Quafu to gather your wood and your gold. Let's check out the scouting patterns. So, as you can see, I am probably underutilizing my Sky Lantern ability. You can see I used it once here, and I'm just using my second one now. Not really gaining any good information from either of those uses. Whereas the Renegade of Funk is on his second use of Sky Lantern as well, but I think he got a lot more good map information from both of his than I did from mine. Temple already up for the Renegade of Funk. My temple just now starting to go up. But it looks like my opponent is going to get the age up going just seconds before my own age up. I'm aging up with Chiyu, and he is going up with Xuanu, is my guess. Let me know how close I was in the comments. And whenever the villager redistribution happens, because on China, you're generally going to pull quite a few of your food villagers off of food once you get your age up. I send 4 to gold, and it looks like the Renegade of Funk, sends most of them to wood, and just leaves the Quafu on the gold mine. Seven sheep, Renegade at the town center at least, and 7 for me at my town center. Sheep pretty well evenly distributed. Age ups come through at almost exactly the same time. I'm going to prioritize getting this Tusk of Dang Kang, which I think is one of the better relics available in the game right now. Just gives you a constant trickle of herdables that you can rally over to your town center. Looks like the first production building to be dropped on my opponent's side of the map is going to be the Imperial Academy, looking to get out a lot of heroes. Going to be a good call, playing against Shennong, who obviously prioritizes the myth units. I'm going to use my initial Yazi for a little bit of scouting. But again, not really finding out too much information that's valuable to me in the immediate sense. Completely missed for now. These villagers are getting pulled out onto this forward hunt. Might end up stealing some sheep. Well, got one. And at this point in the game, I seem to have a slight villager population advantage. I'm not sure if there's been some idle time on the TC for the Renegade, or what's causing that. Lots of production buildings going up pretty quickly for my opponent. A small fight over the hunt. One villager is going to be going down. And once all these pioneers show up, I got to get out of here. The Nija too. I can't take this fight with just these myth units. Honestly, kind of a lucky retreat. If I was any slower, I might have lost this free killing. Peach Blossom Spring for the Renegade set on food. That is an interesting choice. I don't play a ton of Fuxi, but I imagine you probably want this set on gold. We'll have to see how it works out for him. Just now starting to get the farms set up here on my side of the map. Definitely a bit of a mistake. Because of that Prosperous Seeds God Power, whenever you're playing Shennong, I think you're probably better off setting up farms ASAP. Just because the gather rate on these villagers is almost 1 food per second, as opposed to the berries, which is almost half that. So, definitely a unnecessary delay on those farms. The Renegade is going for a second town center. I'm not sure I'd call it a fast second town center, but it's certainly faster than any second town center that I'm not going for. Not a big force, although we have seen those production buildings dropped. Yet to really start making any units out of them. Of course, I also have dropped 2 production buildings that I've yet to start making units out of, so not really in a position to contest this second town center. And not really in a position to grab my own because my macro is so off. I guess I'm going for a fast age up here. But I don't know if that's the move whenever your opponent is getting an aggressive forward second town center like this. And you can really chalk that up to lack of information on my part. Let's see what I have visibility on. I have very little information about my opponent's base. I don't know that the second town center has been taken yet. So, perhaps a little better scouting would probably serve me pretty well. The pigs from that relic I picked up, the Tusk of Dankang, slowly trickling in, and it's really nice, especially if you grab husbandry. You can let these guys fatten up for a little while and have basically a burst of faster gathered food whenever you need it. Villagers still gathering pretty safely from this forward hunt. Got access to one, I just don't suppose I feel secure enough to move out onto the map and gather. Heroic Age is going to come through for me much quicker than the Renegade, who is just now clicking up Guao Meng. I've been aging up with, forget the name, Rushu, primarily for the infantry upgrades, but also for the Pixu, which is just a better trader, especially on these maps with a long open back line and a town center tucked off in the corner here. You can really set up some nice trade lines that are pretty hard for an opponent to take advantage of. But not going for that at this point, because I still don't have this far second town center to trade to. I'm not floating a ton of resources, but I would say that I'm definitely probably undergathering wood for the number of buildings that I really need to be getting up here. The Renegade is not going crazy on production buildings just yet, but still, with this many heroes of this caliber, I just need more human units than I currently have to effectively deal with them. And then obviously it would be nice to get this second town center. The villager advantage is moving decidedly in the Renegade's favor at this point, just from having this additional town center pumping villagers. A little bit idle time on the gold mines. And the heroic age is now through for the Renegade. This is probably my best opportunity to attack on this this forward position. Of course, at this point the hunt is exhausted, so the window to damage there is completely past. First human unit starting to come out for the Renegade, and it looks like he's going with fire archers. This is pretty interesting. I generally don't build a ton of fire archers, just because I don't know if I've gotten any out yet. Just because I think that the Chukonu are a really cool unit and pretty versatile. And the fire archers just don't have that much DPS. Although, looking at them now, they do have a 3 times multiplier against infantry, which is what I'm building pretty much exclusively at this point. Okay, so that's interesting. So the Dao Swordsman, with all the upgrades I currently have on it, 50% pierce. So with a 3 times multiplier, about 15 damage per second, so about 7.5 damage you're getting through per shot from these fire archers. Then the Chukonu, 15.1 damage per second. Okay. So really they're about equal. The primary difference being that the fire archer is a lot cheaper than the Chukonu. So that may be something to consider. Sprinkling in some more of these fire archers and less of their more expensive counterparts. I'm going to start moving out onto the map. Pretty much the worst possible point in time. Up until now, I've had a sizable military advantage, just not the units to counter what my opponent has. But at this point, I have actually lost the military advantage, both in numbers and value. And it looks primarily to be due to these fire archers, 17 of them in this clump of units. For now, though, just going to be dropping a forward ballet to secure up this gold mine. Got 2 2 gold mines going. And still don't seem to have enough gold to keep up unit production. Definitely over-gathering on food right now. So how many? 14 farms, so that means there's two gathering off of the herdables. And that's just way too much food in comparison to my other resources. I guess that's just due to the cheaper villagers. Because ordinarily 16 food gatherers would not be enough, I think, for most civilizations' armies at this point in the game, but it's definitely the resource that I'm stockpiling the fastest. Might need to think about redistributing my villager priorities to wood and gold. I'm going to be taking this fight now that the King Long has come in. Really good special attack. Able to take those fire archers down by about half, but they're not going to stay there long if I can't finish them off. They appear to be healing. Really not a good fight for me. I know that the numbers say that I'm still in the lead, but all of my myth units have gone down. And I just don't have any heroes to deal with his. Dropping the Imperial Academy just now. Definitely should have prioritized dropping that sooner. And it looks like the Renegade has walled off the north side of the map. Which we'll see how that plays out. Definitely wasn't in any immediate danger from me on this side of the map quite yet, but that wall is going to pretty much foreclose the possibility of a surprise attack from that direction, so might have been worth for me to do something similar over here, especially now that he's got this ballet and town center kind of guarding this side. And at this point, although I have a numbers advantage, he definitely has the more valuable military, largely thanks to these heroes and myth units. Most of mine have obviously fallen, and it's going to take some time to build back up. Really just floating a ton of resources at this point. Not much in production. I guess I'm just trying to wait for that mythic age. But the Renegade's already going up with Gong Gong. Not going to be able to get an advantageous timing attack out of this mythic age. Probably would have been better to have more units rather than going up for that age up. Because now, not only am I not going to benefit from the teching up before my opponent, because he's going to get there before me, he's going to have a better army when we both do get aged up. Yeah, like I said, at this point I'm building exclusively Chuko Nu out of my machine workshops. Probably should be sprinkling in some fire archers. Not only do they deal with infantry similarly to the Chuko Nu, apparently, they also have this really nice 6x damage multiplier against buildings. From my experience, I don't think they're as good at taking down buildings as, like, infantry, but definitely not a bad bonus to have on archers. Moving over to this town center, I guess, just to check and see if he's spread out that far onto the map. But then the Vanish God Power gets dropped, and I know some shenanigans are afoot. going to be walking directly through his army. I think the pathing there should have probably tipped me off that that's what just happened. It's going to be pretty close as to whether he's going to get all the way into my base. Vanish wears off just a little bit early, but great flood coming in here. Villagers do manage to garrison in the town center. Several of the lumberjacks are going to get caught up. Not as devastating as Great Flood would have been in the past. I do lose a couple buildings, but fortunately most of the army survives and is going to be pretty effectively cleaning up this opposing army. Terracotta Riders are probably doing most of the damage against those enemy archers. And it looks like this ballet is going to be standing just barely. Okay, so at this point in the game, I have a decided advantage on the military front. This cavalry force here is pretty much the only thing the Renegade has to his name on this side of the map. And he's going to be using it to get some eco damage off on these idle gold miners that have long exhausted their gold mine and probably should have been retasked several minutes ago, is my guess. Several peasants going to be going down. Looks like most of the Quafus are going to make it to the town center. That's good news. Military does have to get called down to deal with this. This is a very vulnerable position. Really just a lack of planning on my part. One wall right here would have probably been sufficient to give my military time to get over here and stop this cavalry raid before it got as bad as it is. But as it is now, they're going to have free reign to pretty much run through the base and pick off any soft targets they see. Really fortunate Zukwe spawn. Definitely lucky from my gift of beasts blessing. Otherwise, this cavalry raid would have been a lot worse than it already is. Cavalry mass is going to get cleaned up here. And again, the military numbers are way in my favor. Villagers come back out of the town center. Gonna get tasked to a more safe area of the map, especially now that this gold is exhausted. And unfortunately, I have so many low health units mixed in here. Diving under this castle is just not going to be a good idea. Ballet, excuse me. Titan Gate coming down from the Renegade. And at this point, there is very little that I can do in response. Ordinarily, when a Titan Gate comes down, I think the move is to go ahead and research your own Titan Gate, get it thrown down, task all your villagers on it, and just try to get it up before your opponents. The other thing you can do is immediately take your army and go try and find this Titan Gate. Because you really don't have a lot of time. There's a lot of villagers tasked right now to this Titan Gate, but 100 seconds is not a lot of time to find the gate, dive into your opponent's base, and take it out. So, because I don't have my own Titan Gate to drop in response, that's pretty much the only thing that I can do at this point. I'm gonna stop to take out this ballet. Probably not the call. Obviously, with the benefit of having the timer, on the Titan Gate. I know that's not the call. It can be hard to gauge how quickly your opponent's Titan Gate is progressing if you don't have vision on it, though. So I guess maybe I thought I had more time. All my flying myth units getting picked off by this mass of pioneers. Really good, just counter unit composition here from the Renegade. Some Chuko Nu on the back line here. Gonna be just shredding through these Dao swordsmen. And my entire army is gonna go down. Fey Beast's trying to get some of these villagers cleaned up, but it's just not gonna be enough, as the Titan is gonna come out. And at this point, there's no response that I realistically have. I don't have an army to try and stall it. I don't have the resources to research my own Titan Gate. I have this wall, but that's not going to stop this Titan for, 10 seconds. And just like that, poor decision to full send onto the Titan Gate is going to cost me the game. That is going to be GG. Let's take a look at the graphs here. So, there were only a couple points in the game that, on paper, I didn't have a military advantage. Here at about the 10 to 15 minute mark, and then right there at the end of the game. On the civilian front, I was losing from about the 10-minute mark onwards. You can chalk that up to the slow second town center, and the relatively fast third town center for my opponent. So, what could we have done to potentially have a different outcome in this game? Well, obviously this wall did nothing to stop the Titan, but would have been helpful to have earlier whenever the Renegade decided to send those cavalry raids. So, getting that wall up sooner, definitely high on the priority list. As I said, there were several points in the game where I had a military advantage, but they just kind of hung out here underneath this ballet. And I think the main reason they did is because I knew that there was a force on this side of the pass, and also an opposing ballet waiting to take out any units that might be passing through. Probably the move would have been to come up north and push in on the north side of the base, because although there is this wall here, there are no defensive fortifications, not even upgraded towers to stop an army moving through here. Probably could have taken better advantage of the military population advantage that I had. And finally, probably getting out of Titan Gate sooner. There were several points where I had the resources to drop a Titan Gate, but opted instead to build more human units. And whenever you find yourself in a situation where there's just a stalemate somewhere on the map and you can't break through, throwing more human units into the grinder is probably not the answer. So, we'll try those changes in the next game and see if we don't get better results. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. And as always, if you'd like to see one of your games featured in my next video, leave a comment below with your gamer tag, and I'll see what I can do. I'll be casting a DoD tournament this weekend, their Subnautical tournament, so check out their YouTube channel to see my casts and the rest of the tournament games. I will leave a link in the description below. But until next time, good luck, have fun, and I'll see you in the next game.